place out from Nigeria is out-country medical tourism. But we hear there's an in-country medical tourism. Are you aware? That will be our focus on this segment of the program. We shall be looking at issues around the health sector, but what is the in-country medical tourism doing for Nigerians? My guest to do this is Dr. Marjorie Langton. She's an integrative medicine specialist, US-trained pharmacist and medical doctor. She's a lot within the medical field, and she's also a certified by the American Academy of Ozonotherapy. She uses ozone therapy in management and reversal of disease. Dr. Langton is a daughter of Africa. She's back in the continent and want to practice in Nigeria. Thanks for joining me on Insight.
Thank you, Sir Odin.
Okay, I saw a quote somewhere. I don't know whether I'll link it to you. It says, your body retains its ability to heal itself. Give it the powerful nutrients it needs. What does it mean?
What I'm trying to say is that the body is a magnificent machine which was created by God. To God be the glory. We always have to glorify Him, because that's the origin of what we are and what we come from, or what we've become. So what we're saying is God made a machine which can take care of itself. What we need to do is give it the proper nutrients so it can do what it needs to do. And we need to say that we all know food is our medicine. So the proper food, which can come in different forms, be it supplements or the kinds of vegetables or whatever kind of foods we eat, are critical to giving those nutrients which the body needs to be able to do what it knows how to do.
For instance? For
instance, detoxing, taking out the dirt from the body and releasing it out into, be it through urine, be it through sweat, and through feces. That's an example. Okay.
Do you think we are doing it right in Nigeria or in Africa?
Well, it's not a matter of doing it right. The question is that what have we done to the body to the point where the body is not doing what it has to do? That's what more it is. If you keep the body in its most natural state, in other words, give it the proper nutrients, it will do its job of taking care of itself. But what happens is that when we've now overwhelmed the body by the wrong foods, or even if we do eat in inadequate quantities of whatever nutrients, be it the proteins, the minerals, the enzymes, whatever it is we have to consume, then the body just can't function and things back up. It's just like trash not being disposed. Before long, it piles up on the sides of the street.
But some of these meals are certified and recommended to us by the medical experts like you.
Yes, a meal can be certified, but what does certified mean? Certified can say, yes, it's good, but have they told you about the quantities of each mineral in there? Have they told you what quantity of minerals your body needs? Those are the questions. What about the quantities? And certified for who? A healthy person or a sick person? Does a healthy person eat the same amount of minerals that a sick person should eat? Those are the questions, and those are the challenges which we, the physicians, need to translate to the patient. Okay. But unfortunately,
our concern basically is in-country medical tourism, right? Mm-hmm. But primarily, when we talk about medical tourism, it is widely defined as a process of traveling outside the country of residence for the purpose of receiving medical care. Mm-hmm. And medical tourism has, over the years, captured the attention of policymakers, researchers, and even the media. Mm-hmm. Originally, it used to be from the less developed climes to developed climes, mm-hmm. where you have sophistry kind of in terms of facilities. Mm-hmm. But recently, the developed climes are rather coming down to a less developed clime because it is cheaper. Mm-hmm. But where is Nigeria in all this?
Well, Nigeria will be where it wants to be, and people will come based on what exists there already. If Nigeria doesn't have the resources they're looking for, they're not going to come here. That's just it. If you're looking for a place where systems are organized to provide a particular service, then in addition to marketing, of course, because when you have it, you have the tendency to market to attract certain people. Then when they know about it, then they come. It's about information. So Nigeria needs to maybe boost up its systems so that they stand out a little bit more, and also create many more systems. It's a huge country, so it has the capacity to do a whole lot more than the smaller African countries. So it's about making a specific effort to sort of raise certain particular systems to attract people from outside. Otherwise, it's a huge market. Okay, you go where you can find what you're looking for. If it is in Nigeria, they will come. It's about creating those opportunities for people to come.
So let me say, maybe you're a trailblazer in this direction. You say in-country medical tourism, right? Mm-hmm. What does it connote?
What we're trying to say is that instead of people typically going abroad looking for health, or healthcare services, that a lot of these things can be done at home. But what our approach is really trying to emphasize more on that is we can prevent your need to even go abroad by preventing the diseases in the first place. Okay, why would you have cancer then when you're almost getting to the death point? They send you abroad to go and do maybe chemotherapy or whatever it is they do out there. Why did you have cancer in the first place? What made you even need to go abroad? So our point is that prevent us from having the cancer, diabetes, and all the diseases here, so we don't even need to go abroad. So we're looking more at the preventive aspect of it because we think it's smarter, we think it's cheaper, and we think it's actually more effective. So that is our approach, because if we're just trying to think of only treatment and only thinking of bringing huge amounts of technology, I think it's a lost battle, because if it's amount of technology, look at the other countries with a lot of technology. Don't they have a heavy disease burden? High technology does not equate to better health. No, it is what is going on in the system which prevents people from actually getting sick or getting obese or getting diabetes and all those. And we in Africa have the diets, the menus to keep us from all these diseases. So we need to sort of reorient ourselves. Like I tell most of my patients, eat like your great-grandmother. Okay, she didn't have refined oils. She didn't have bread. She didn't have the Maggi cubes, all this. She didn't have all of that. How did she eat? And the virgin soils which she ate from gave her all the minerals she needed. So all she had to do is eat very little, and the food was nutrient dense, mineral dense, with high mineral density. And so she had to eat only a little bit. Whereas today we are sort of gluttons. The food is very low in nutrients, low in minerals, and we're constantly eating just to fulfill that, because our bodies are created in such a way that your hunger is partially controlled by the mineral contents which your body needs.
Okay, so how do you intend to achieve this? I ask this. People have a mindset already, and suddenly now say, don't do this. How will you achieve it?
Well, number one, educating the patient and orienting them, and much more than just telling them stuff, because nowadays with the social media you can read all kinds of things to the point where it's almost getting to the point of pollution of health information. Telling them how to distinguish things, because they are getting tired of us medical doctors saying today vitamin E is a good thing, tomorrow it causes cancer. So we're all over the place, and before long they just give up and say, so what should I do if today is good, tomorrow is bad? So the physicians need to know how to communicate better with the patients to make them understand, yes, vitamin E has a role. What quantities, in what ways do you use it in addition to other things to achieve? So we should quit isolating nutrients, right? Vitamin E, vitamin C, but sort of talking about the foods in which carry these things wholesome as a whole package, to improve the quality of the food we eat, to really maintain our health, as opposed to picking.
Are you on ground already?
Yes, already? Absolutely. Yeah, we're providing services here. Yes.
You have testimonies of people who have bought into your concept?
Well, again, what are testimonies or what are concepts? To me, it is about making people realize it is there, because the sorts of things which we do are not things which make people snap out of what problem they had. To convert an obese person to someone who is not obese, it takes a while. And it's a part of a personal process, and sometimes that personal process, people take it in different ways. They don't want to shout success until they've maybe had it for a while and they've gained control over their transformation of their health.
I understand you. Simple. I said, how do you intend to achieve this? For instance, people have a mindset. Let me use myself for an example.
Yes.
Maybe my mindset is, I'm just used to walk into a big shop, lift all the canned foods and walk to my house and work with it. Meaning your concept means I should rather tinker towards tailoring my mind. Maybe on a weekend I get to a local market, buy fresh yam, buy fresh all this. And now some persons, you need to work on their sensibilities to adjust or revert. So how are you doing it?
Well, a lot of it is education, which is not easy to achieve, okay? A lot of it is education and making people aware of the realities of certain things. Do you realize how much of our food or how much of our plants are grown with artificial fertilizers? Do you realize how much? Automatically, food grown with artificial fertilizers are weaker in nutrients, automatically. So when you know that, I would rather go get my tomatoes in the village than get it in the city, automatically. But are you willing to spend that money to go get it in the village? Are you willing to spend the money to eat organic chicken as opposed to the chicken which gets to the table in 6 weeks? So then you now say, okay, I'm going to be spending maybe that extra money, but what is the value of that extra expenditure if it helps me prevent diabetes or obesity? What's the value of that extra expenditure if it prevents my children from getting obese at an early age? Because now we know the problem now is getting to the younger ages
But
where
some
you see...
persons have attached class to it.
Yeah, class to some extent.
If I eat the local chicken, it's a class thing.
It's a class thing, but unfortunately now the masses are now in there because now chicken is so cheap, bread is cheap, rice is cheap. And so those are the things which everybody's consuming in massive quantities which are very, very low in nutrients. And so that's why now the bigger population, which used to be sort of protected by poverty, is no longer protected by poverty. And unfortunately, with poverty, then you can't even access whatever medical care you think you're trying to access out there. And so poverty almost translates to death from all this chronic, what we call
naturally the message you're saying is plant right and eat right.
Plant right and eat right. And it should be a national policy as opposed to...
So how do you tie curative and preventive medicine with this your concept?
We
Can we look at it too?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Curative, preventive.
Preventive. But what we're trying to say is that we should put more money on the preventive. The curative for those who have already caught the disease and we're trying to get them back.
Can you tie it to what you're doing now?
Absolutely. Okay. Prevent people from getting the disease in the first place. Number one, making them identify what risk factors they have. Just by checking the waist, the size of your waist is very important. The size of your neck. And also that in relation to your age and height and all those kinds of things. Identify those things so that people watch and prevent themselves from getting obese. Okay. Number two, especially for our children nowadays, where they're getting obese, you see girls menstruating at the age of 10 and 12, that is not normal. Make sure that your children stay slim, keep the fat burden on the kids as low as possible. So teach the mother how not to put all these juicy, fruity things inside the child's bag. The child should be eating food which is nutrient dense as opposed to calorie dense or just sweets and all this what I can call junk food, which is pretty much the order of the day. And we are seeing the clear effects of that in our society. You see the obesity rates, it's becoming an epidemic. It's just that we have not yet called it that way because no epidemiologists have come and defined it. But look at it. Most people have now extra pouches and all that kind of thing. And when you look at those tendencies, that explains a lot of why you see more of the cancer, the diabetes, the dementias, name it. That is what I can say. But what we're saying is that there are things which we can do for those who have caught nothing. Keep you disease-free. For those who have disease, we bring them back to the disease-free state, and we teach them how to maintain that state by how they eat, how to do detoxification, clean your body so that the body just is more efficient in what it does.
So imagine I'm watching you now, and
yes.
I have the question: how do I reach you?
Well, you can reach us. We have contact information, of course. You can reach us, and then the key thing we try to do is at least to get you in for a consultation, because that creates us at least the opportunity to create the platform for the needs which you have. We try to do things on an individualized basis so that the person actually participates in their care as opposed to just giving out, say, take this, take that. You have to participate in it because it's more of a lifestyle issue as opposed to take a medicine for 2 weeks and abandon it. We have to change it because in the process of us educating you, you have to know how to shop. You realize that most of our shops have junk, for heaven's sake. So we realize that you enter a grocery store, there's almost nothing to buy there. You have to go someplace else. And so what we're trying to do is hoping that the more people start realizing that getting in the regular shop is really not where you should be, buying canned foods and all that, and putting all kinds of funny things in our foods to make them taste better when they are really not nutrient, when their nutrient value is low, then they may start asking for certain things. I want organic chicken. If you don't have organic chicken, I'm not buying in your shop. And then before long, the people who should be doing organic chicken will start growing it, and there creates now a market for organic chicken.
Do you have a link with the agricultural subsector in Nigeria?
Unfortunately, no.
So how do you intend to do this?
Well, again, I think it's educating people, because what we now know
I
is
say
that
this, if for instance
yes.
the extension officer at the rural flanks, they have the upbringing of selling the maybe non-organic foods,
exactly,
cultivation,
yes,
and they do this, your efforts will amount to naught.
Yeah, but I am believing more in the consumer, the consumer demanding it as opposed to looking for policy. If 100 people come and say we want organic chicken, that's more effective than me trying to make a rural master, whatever I want to call that person, whatever level, to change that policy. So let consumers drive the need for it. Let's drive the need to say we don't want any more violence on the streets, or we don't want any more malaria, we want to control AIDS. That is where it is the consumers which should drive that need. And when they see the need, guess what? Then adjustments are made to match that need. Okay,
most times within the medical sector, patients or consumers, as to take your word, go for where it is affordable. This your concept, is it affordable?
Oh,
How
yes,
affordable is it?
Oh, yes, it is affordable. You make it affordable by, number one, okay,
Because
making the demand high.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are many of us asking for organic chicken, the price of organic chicken is going to get lower automatically, demand. But if you're the only one, are you going to make a farmer or somewhere in the outskirts that make you organic potatoes or organic cocoyams when you're the only buyer? But if he knows that, hey, in Abuja I have a group of people there, so if I send my bag of cocoyams organic, they're not going to argue, they're going to take it because they know they need it, and then I'm going to keep producing.
Are you standalone? Are you collaborating with any government agency currently?
Right now, no. I'm collaborating simply with
government.
Yes.
Places high premium in the medical sector, and every year you hear so much is voted into it. So which agency are you collaborating with? We have so many agencies.
Well, right now I can't say I'm collaborating with any agency. We're more on a private basis. We're starting, you know. We eventually hope to have this sort of collaborations with government agencies. We have certain products which are quite attractive, which can really make differences. For example, Vidatox is one of the things which we try to push for. It's a homeopathic product which can be used for cancer, especially in patients who are having pain and other issues or side effects related to the cancer process or the cancer disease. So we're trying to, for example, working on trying to reach out to hospitals to see if we can even include this particular product on their med list. So in that sense, it's a work in process. Work in progress. We're hoping to do that. We're trying. It's not easy, of course. It takes a lot of time and effort meeting all these people. But yes, we're trying to make those connections.
Hearing you speak this way, and maybe the top echelon, the Federal Minister of Health or the health subsector invites you and say, look, we want to really sell this to Nigerians. And it's okay, implement. We want to consult to implement. What will you do?
Number one, I'm going to tell that minister to associate himself with the Ministry for Agricultural Policy. If the food chain or the food supply chain of the country is contaminated, we need to make particular efforts to decontaminate that health food system. We're talking about things working for the masses, because the government at least should focus on the masses. Yeah, there are the individuals there who say, yeah, we will be ignored, but we're talking about the millions of the people who depend on the major food supply. Number one, cleaning out the major food supply is so critical, because that's where the masses consumes its food. Agricultural policy and health policy must be linked together. They must correlate. You can't be talking about...
Do you think they are not linked currently?
No, well, even if they are not linked, I'm talking about functionally to produce certain results. They are not linked. We're looking at results. Why do we see obesity everywhere? Okay, if people are eating food which has been grown in soils which have been fertilized with synthetic fertilizers, then it's a problem. So why not now the government now push for organic compost? Get back the compost farmers on board, who have maybe given up because it's too much work putting in the bags and loading all that stuff. But hey, if we want to make that change in the quality of the food, the mineral content of the food, we have to change the kinds of soils which we use. What about those who have soils which are contaminated? What do you do with them? They have to lay fallow for at least 3 years. That means you have to compensate them to go use maybe other virgin lands, provide the means for those agriculturals who are now on contaminated lands to have access to land which is maybe virgin while their lands are getting fallow. You
have talked about care and you talked about malaria here. Just recently I had a chat with the Cuban ambassador to Nigeria, and he said, in Cuba, just approaching a medical facility, the response and treatment you get from the doctors and the nurses, you start getting well. And secondly, he surprised me again. He said, in Cuba, you don't have malaria anymore. That rather than a mosquito to bite and infect you, if it bites you, it dies, because they have invented a vaccine that if you're inoculated with it, you are now a toxin to a mosquito. Mosquito bites you and it dies. So there's no malaria in Cuba.
Yes.
When can we attain this in Nigeria?
Oh, it's easily attainable. It's about where you guys want to get your information from. If you decide that all your information about healthcare is coming out of the WHO, only from European countries, guess what? That's what you're going to get. They're going to feed you what they have. Let's realize that there are a lot of other systems in the world which are not necessarily marketed in this big whole way through the WHO, which are sitting there quietly. Unfortunately, we need messengers to communicate between those communities or those systems and us. Maybe the problem between Cuba and us is just a language issue. Who's going to sit and translate all of that stuff from Spanish into English so we can understand? So we need to look for where it is. It's just like even now Chinese medicine is becoming a little bit common here. But they've been there for ages, long before all this conventional medicine came aboard. But what? The translation issue. So they have gems. And Chinese medicine is amazing. But we've been sitting here as though the medicine does not exist. It has been there. But now, okay, because of maybe more of the exchange of the world, we're seeing some of those things. So those things have been there. It's about what? The government saying, okay, we want something different. Okay, who has it? Cuba. Okay, let's talk to you and see how we can translate and debug all those things.
Locally?
Of course. When you get it from Cuba, Cuba trains us locally, and we do it here locally. All of these things. A vaccine is what? It's a vaccine. If we've taken vaccines for other things, then what's the deal with negotiating with Cuba to get a vaccine for whatever it is we're looking for? So to me, and if, as long as we're looking at the rigorous randomized controlled trial process, the typical scientific process which we seem to insist on certain things which favors the certain pharmaceutical companies, then we're going to miss.
What about the area of care?
Area of care, again, care is what? It's about the human beings. Care is about the humanity of it, okay? Reorienting the medical students, reorienting the medical doctors, okay? And sort of, you know, the educational process is part of it, and making it an intentional process until you've seen the change. Communication should be part of it. We do it in medicine and all that, but we don't make it part of it. Just like now, medical schools and all that have now started to put like internet technology as part of, that is an intentional process. Before, did I go to medical school learning internet technology? But no, right now, a doctor who cannot function on the internet is pretty much, you know, will get obsolete in no time.
If all this is put together and there's no appropriate legislation to back it up, will it work?
Legislation is what it is. I'm more worried about you, the individual. What do you know and what are you doing? You're not going to wait for your president or your minister to tell you not to eat canned junk food or to leave the television on the whole day instead of teaching your child properly. You were watching TV or playing on the internet, all this WhatsApp thing. It's a personal issue. The government can only do so much. What the government should do is facilitate people, few little leaders, family heads and all that, to be able to carry those things within their homes. The bottom line is that the home remains the crucible of this change. What are the wives cooking? How much are the husbands supporting their wives to get the proper meals on the table? That is where it starts. What are the children eating? If they're eating bread every day, well, guess what? And then bread is all they know. Why can't you start making the traditional Nigerian dishes like your grandmother did? Because those dishes were fantastic. Instead of playing around and in the end, you know, we're eating food which is not nutrient. I mean...
So if you buy into this concept you're selling, where will we be maybe in the next 2 years?
Well, we as who? You as you and your family, or you as a... Well, everybody. It will be in the next 2 years depending on how many people we're able to contact. Okay, it's about a numbers game. How many key people in key places can make contact? Okay. And if we have legislature to back us and support us, yeah, but the political process sometimes puts a lot of quagmires all over the place and wastes time. But if the consumers are asking, getting smart, we all have phones now. People can be informed in different ways. Getting smart on an individual basis, using the same internet technology, and all the smartphones and all that. I think we can do a better job than waiting for legislation, because there'll be a movement instead of waiting for legislation. Okay. Yes.
Well, Dr. Majoro, it was nice talking with you, and I believe your message has got across.
I hope so.
Thank you. Thanks for being on Insight.
Thank you.
I'll be talking with Dr. Majoro Lantum, integrative medical specialist, and a lot of other attachments to her. Up next on the program.